What you will discover as time continues to move forward, and I know that in Stacy and my original intro that we had recorded that just didn't turn out very well, and we just haven't got back together in order to do another intro recording. So what we were going to say in the intro, or what we did say and didn't get up there, was this channel is not going to be just about your average commonly shown crafts on most craft channels. There's going to be a wide variety of things that we talk about. We may do cooking recipes, we may do gardening, anything that has to do with hobbies or crafts, things that we personally enjoy or that we think will be helpful to others, we will post. Today, I am posting this video because I am in need of my herbal tea blend. This herbal tea blend, I did a lot of research on to find what I can use that works best for urinary, bladder, UTI types of health, because I have always been plagued by that, more so when I was younger. But I have interstitial cystitis, and I almost think that makes me more prone to infection or at least irritation. And in my research, I searched for types of herbs that were specifically geared towards antifungal, antibacterial, anti-irritation, anti-inflammatory, all of those things. And the main one that I found was parsley. Now, I know that I'm not a doctor, and I have to put the disclaimer out that, I'm not a doctor, and you should always talk to your physician before you try anything new, even, supplements, because just because it's nature doesn't mean that it's good for you or that it won't cause you problems or irritation or even affect medications that you're on. So I'm going to say that. But what I will say is this works for me. What I try to do is to drink this at least a few times a week. And sometimes that works for me. Sometimes I have to drink it every day if I get a flare-up. And then I do that for maybe about a week, and then it's gone. So parsley is the, of course, main ingredient. And then I know that cranberry is often associated with urinary issues. So I buy freeze-dried cranberry powder. It's pretty pricey. I do get it on Amazon. I will provide links to all the things that I get here on Amazon. This is freeze-dried parsley. And if I can get items that are freeze-dried, I would rather get those than just regular heat-dried. I use these Tea Buddies loose tea filter bags, 200 pack. I use hibiscus flower, and I use ginger root. And so I'm going to make this today. I'm going to just do one bag so that you can see how I do it. And then afterwards, I will talk about the Manuka honey that I use. And there's been plenty of research on the antibacterial properties of Manuka honey. So what I do is I use one of these tea bags, and I really like the ones with the little paper on the string. Inevitably, I will sometimes still lose that within my teacup. But I open up all my containers so that I have them ready, and I don't really worry about what I want to say, cross-contamination, so to speak. I just don't worry about it. I mean, everything is pretty much freeze-dried, and I just use a clean spoon every time. But I use 1 teaspoon, and sometimes more heaping, especially with the parsley, because that to me is the most important ingredient in this blend. And you can judge, that for yourself on how much you want to use. And then, it doesn't really matter what order, I guess, that it goes in. It's just, how I do it. But most of the things that I put in here are fairly heaping. Depends on the flavor also that you like. And that is literally it that goes into my tea bag. And I make as many as I can. Usually depends on how much parsley I have. When I make my cup of tea, I put in 1 tea bag and I steep it in not boiling water. I use the herbal setting on my teapot, which is just the counter teapot. And I think the reason for that is that it's set at a lower heat. So you don't want anything that's too hot to ruin any of the properties that you may get from any of the items that you put into your cup. And if you needed to, there's been times I've drank 2 cups a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, till I get kind of handle on it. And then I will go down to maybe 1 a day until, I feel the symptoms subside. Sometimes even I'll go a couple days after that. But, normally if I'm on it and I'm paying attention, I do try to drink this 2 to 3 times a week. Now, after I get the hot water in my cup, I let it steep for 5 to 10 minutes. And that is also up to you. It depends on how strong you want it, how strong you like the flavor and can stand it. But for me, the medicinal properties of what I get from this particular blend is beneficial. And so I will often go with 10 minutes of steeping easily. Now, the Manuka honey, I get off of Amazon, and I get the Comvita Manuka honey. When I drink the tea on a regular basis, I use the 10 plus 263 plus MGO Manuka honey. And this is really considered, I guess they think of it as more of a maintenance type of amount. And I don't remember exactly what these mean, the UMF and the MGO. You can look that up. I mean, even if you go to the Comvita website, they give you that information. But when I have a flare-up or I have something that feels like an infection, and anybody who has IC, interstitial cystitis, knows that sometimes the only thing that is different between a flare-up of IC and a bladder infection is a fever. I mean, really, it feels pretty much the same miserableness that you get when you have a bladder infection. But this still calms it down. It works wonders with the IC. So when I have flare-ups, I use the 15 plus. And you can even go up from there if you want to. They have higher amounts. But, of course, the higher the UMF, the higher price the Manuka honey. And I seem to do okay with the 15 plus. Now, I think if I had something major going on, I would have no qualms about using a higher UMF Manuka honey. After I've steeped the tea, I put whichever honey I'm going to put in there. To number 1, it gives a good flavor, and number 2, you get the extra benefits of the antibacterial properties of Manuka honey. And I use a good tablespoon, probably, in my tea. So I wanted to show you that this is what the blend looks like inside the bag, just so that you can see. It's actually kind of pretty. This one you can tell I got a little carried away with the heaping amount, but I will just dump that into another tea bag and use that. I wanted to add one more thing, and that is about the honey. And you should know, I would hope anyway, if you're allergic to bees. If you're allergic to bees, then you definitely are not going to put honey in your herbal tea. Is there something else that you could substitute for that? Probably not anything that you're going to get the same properties that you are from the honey, but don't use it if you're allergic to bees or allergic to honey. If you need to sweeten it, you could use sugar, you could use whatever you wanted to. I have no problems with sugar. I don't actually eat or drink anything that has sugar substitute in it. I just don't like it. It tends to be way sweeter and feel less natural to me, I guess I want to say. I know a lot of people use agave, stevia. I mean, there's other things that you can use, and that's up to you. But for me, if I'm going to put sugar flavor, I just use sugar. So, but again, I use honey whenever I can. And I just store all of my tea bags that I make in an airtight plastic container, and then I have them ready for when I want to use them. I make a whole lot of them at once, and then it lasts me a little while. I think another thing for me is because I'm allergic to antibiotics, it's a thing. And I do everything I can to try to prevent having to go to the hospital and get desensitized or whatever I need to do in order to take an antibiotic for an infection. So if I can do something on my own that works, then I am going to do that. It's similar to when I told you that I had cut my finger. And this Band-Aid here that I finally my skin's starting to break down because I'm allergic to adhesive. And so I have to be fairly creative. But this is I think it's First Honey is what it's called. The First Honey, which has got Manuka honey in here. Instead of like bacitracin, which I'm allergic to bacitracin even. I mean, I will get hives if I put it on my skin. What I have found too is that the bamboo Band-Aids also I get less irritation from. But if I have way too much irritation, I use the Hibiscus. I make my own Band-Aids. I just use nonstick pads, and I use the self-adhesive tape. I know that's kind of a sidetrack, but if any of you out there have problems with adhesive and you have to be creative, these three things have, I think, saved my skin tremendously. I'm trying to film all these videos all at once, but boy, this wind is blowing my phone. I'm going to give you a chance to see me. My name is Jane, and I am been the one that's been doing the craft videos, good and bad. But I'm down at the river doing some other videos that I am doing for Ghost 411 podcast and for my TikTok channel. And so I thought this would be a pretty good opportunity for you to get to see my face since I'm filming anyway. You know, it took me a long time to get to a place where I don't know, it was like with the podcast, you know, getting to listen to my voice all the time and being able to hear me. It was so annoying. I mean, really annoying. It took me a while to get used to hearing my voice because I always thought it was really nasal tony, and I thought nobody wants to listen to that. But then I just finally got to a place where I just didn't care, or else I got comfortable. Maybe both of those. And so I'm thinking that that is what's going to happen here with this video. Now, you may or may not see very much of me. You may see me way more often when Stacy and I are together doing some filming on some videos for the craft channel. But for right now, I just want to say hi and say thank you to those who have been watching. And I hope that you can, whoop, there goes my phone. And I hope that you continue to watch the channel.